Hey there, and welcome to Between the Lines. I'm your host, Chris White, and this is the podcast where we take a look between the lines from the message this past Sunday here at Victory Hill Church. And so this past week, we started a brand new series called Fresh Start. And Pastor Aaron, you launched us in that series, and so I was excited about it. It's going to be great. How have you been? How you been doing?
Doing well. It's been a good week so far. Been productive, and it just seems like a lot of exciting things are happening. So enjoyed time with our staff and team today, and looking forward to all that we have planned for the future.
Yes, me too. And so just kind of real quick, it's New Year, right?
New Year.
I know last week you were hosting, which was different for me. You know,
you
were hosting.
I
was. You talk a lot more than I do, I think.
When you host, it's just I mean, it's the personality traits, right?
That is true. That's true.
It's who I am.
It's good though. It's good. It's like I made that sound bad. That wasn't a bad thing.
Was it? I mean, like next time I host, I'm not
thing.
talking at all. Okay, I'm gonna be like the silent host.
Ask a question.
Yeah, I'm gonna put them up on the screen and just like hit a button or whatever.
That'd be a funny podcast.
It could be.
Anyway, it's New Year. We all make new resolutions, new goals. And I just wanted to ask you, like, as a church, we're coming into 2021, and so what's some new things, new ideas, or any goals that you have for us as Victory Hill?
Yeah, really. I mean, coming out of a pandemic year was kind of crazy. A lot of things kind of shifted a little bit last year. There's a lot of things that happened new in our church during a pandemic, and we've talked a little bit about that as like a team and a staff of how it accelerated some things inside of our church that I'm extremely excited about, things like the podcast,
I know
online, being able to, kind of reach more people through all that kind of stuff has been awesome. But honestly, like right now, like I'm pumped up, man. There just feels like there's just some excitement, some momentum that's happening inside of our church. There's some awesome things that are happening. Like I wish everybody who came here could hear like all the stories that we hear sometimes, because we get some of that privilege sometimes to sit with people and you hear their story, you hear where they're coming from, you hear about what God's doing inside your life, and it fires me up or whatever, you know? And so I think this year, some things just I'm continuing to be excited about. During the pandemic, I think we were able to make some more community connections and outreach and stuff like that. And I think that is going to just continue to be accelerated inside of this year. I'm excited just to see more lost people come to know Jesus and really help people get into a real relationship with Jesus. Like, I think it's time to kind of stop playing the games, jump all into this thing and just kind of go all out inside of that. And so I'm excited about how I think God's propelling us into this next season. And I don't know, there's just some moments in life where it's just exciting, like you just feel like there's some momentum happening, and some of that is things that we were planning in like 2020, that we had on the I think now this is the year that it's just gonna take off on some of that stuff.
And we talked about it this morning in our staff meeting and kind of getting together, and so just that momentum, you can kind of feel the anticipation, people kind of getting back into the groove of some things, and I think it's just exciting to see what's going to happen. So, so before we jump into talking about the series from Sunday, I have kind of a fun question. I think it's fun.
You think it's fun?
We'll see. We'll see how it goes. And so, if you were a new addition to a crayon box. Crayon? How do you say crayon? Crayon? You're a new addition to a crayon box. What color would you be?
Is it Crayola or is it Rose brand? I mean, what brand is it? I mean, are we high end crayons or whatever?
Crayola.
Crayola. I mean, there's only one type of crayon, right? I mean, teachers tell you only get Crayola for the kids.
Yes, only get Crayola. That's right.
So if I was a new addition,
what color would you be?
I mean, they come up with funky names though for these things. I'm not that's not my specialty of coming up with funky names for stuff. Man,
you give us a color,
a color, and then you guys are gonna name it.
We'll figure out a name maybe in the comments.
I can give that in the comments, come up with a name
that
or whatever.
That would be good.
Yeah, they can make some so. Right now, and here's my whole philosophy behind it. Even just after what we just came out talking about or whatever, I would like to be green. And here's the reason, green. And so I don't know what kind of name we make for green. What kind
Give us the why. And
the why. Maybe that'll help us get to the green, because green is associated with going, go. It's time to go or whatever. And I just really feel like it's a season to go. And so in my own life and this year, that's kind of what I'm anticipating is no more pausing, no more stopping, no more yielding. If there's a color that I want it to hey, let's just get after it. Let's go after it. So like green go color. I don't know.
Go
green, or you know, like.
So tell us in the comments, like what the name of this color should be. Somewhere in the green family and associated with go.
And if they give us such a good name for a color, and Crayola takes it, it's our rights, right? Like it's in our chat.
We're gonna turn the green into green.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Like we officially made that on video. So like if there's any money to be made after,
it's official.
It's ours. We own the rights to it, even though you put it in the comments. So
there we go. So you would be green for go. That's
green for go, man. Right. Let's get after it. Let's just
awesome.
Hit it right.
I think if I was gonna pick a color for myself,
I'm gonna analyze your color.
Yeah, I know you are.
You see how this kind of worked or whatever.
I thought you were gonna say red, since like your color thing is red.
Yeah, but like red, like I mean, is that what your color?
Stop,
like it means stop. I mean, it could mean you're angry.
There's a lot of
yeah. Like I'm gonna psychoanalyze this color. So
no, I think I would be like a blue or a yellow.
A blue or a yellow.
Yeah, and my reasoning for this is like
because you want to know why, right?
What do you think?
Well, blue and yellow is Michigan colors, and so deep down, like subliminally in your heart and in your like, you want to be a Michigan fan.
Go there.
Is that what it is?
Like
that is.
It's a sad day for us Ohio State fans. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm
we can't be talking about.
I forgot about what happened. We shoot this on Tuesday, so this is the day of mourning. So black, is that the color of the cream?
Black. I got my.
Okay, go ahead. I mean,
anyway, I would say blue or yellow because like blue skies, sunshine, like just something new. Like I think that's like where I'm at, and I would have no idea what to name it either. It's hard to come up with a name.
Yeah.
If you ever look at those names,
it's crazy.
They don't even make sense.
Yeah.
It's like, where did you come up with this? But anyway.
Or you just could call it the Wolverine.
Oh my gosh. Nope. Not go with
it works.
All right. So this past week we started this new series called Fresh Start, and I absolutely love this series. I actually shared it out yesterday on our social media. I think if you haven't watched it, go watch it. Go check it out. And so so as we get into today, we started this series. Can you give us just a brief rundown of kind of Fresh Start, what it's about, and just kind of give us that and walk through it with us?
Yeah, I think a big part of it, and we were kind of landing on Fresh Start with it, is just like it's time to put 2020 behind us, and it's time to walk into kind of the new things that God has in store for our lives, and that there's this fresh start that can come inside of our lives, and it's really in our relationship with God, and really the bigger picture of this though is a fresh start, and we kind of talked about this Sunday, we're going to walk through it, is what does it look like to develop some consistent patterns inside of our lives that are going to help us get to those destinations that we want to get to inside of our lives. And so we have this opportunity in front of us, a new year. We kind of look at all the things that, we reflect back on the past, and there's nothing wrong with that. But let's just like 2020. I mean, there's good things that happen too. But I think a lot of us are just like, I'm ready to put that behind us or whatever, and go breathe a sigh of relief. It's a fresh start. It's a new beginning. And what is it that God wants to do inside of a relationship? And I hope over the next several weeks, we just kind of help push people into that deeper relationship with God to go, man, this could be the most incredible year of my life. Let's go. Let's get after it. Yeah. So
in the opening of this series, you talked about consistency, and you said this statement. You said that consistency is the key to a fresh start. And so as a person who struggles sometimes with consistency in my own life, kind of tell us, why is this statement so true, and kind of what does it mean at the heart of it?
Yeah. And so, I mean, let's just be honest. I think we all struggle with consistency to some point, but
Not the only one. Okay.
No, you're not the only one. I'm going to let you off the hook there. In that, we struggle with this, in that when we said consistency is kind of the beginning, it's the key to a fresh start inside of our life. The honest truth, we're always looking for new, and so we come into things and we're like, well, let me get a new workout. Let me get a new financial plan. Let me get something new inside of my life. And we think all of those things are going to get us to the destination that we want to get to, where any of those things, honestly, any of those new things. I mean, when you entered last year in 2020 and you're like, oh, I'm going to start this new workout, that new workout would probably have gotten you to the destination you wanted to get to if you were consistent with it, And so now we turn the calendar and we're like, well, that workout didn't work for me. I'm going to do this workout. Well, so we like the new stuff because, once we've kind of failed the old, we're like, oh, that it was the program. Mm-hmm. It was this. It was, this is the reason I didn't manage my money well. This is the reason my relationships didn't grow. This is the reason my relationship with God didn't grow. I just need something new inside my life. And, I'm all for new things. I mean, we're all enamored with new things. But in more than needing something new, we need something consistent. And we need to say, hey, I'm going to be disciplined into going, this is what I'm going to do in this season of my life. And it doesn't matter what it is. I mean, it doesn't matter what program it is. It doesn't matter what workout. If you have a plan and you stay consistent at it, guess what? You're going to see results from that. And so the same is true in our relationship with God. Like people go, Aaron, what's the best Bible for this? Or what's the best devotional you've ever used? What are all these things? And what we're looking for is, I need something new. Like, the last one didn't work. Well, the last one would have worked. You just weren't consistent with it.
You have to be consistent.
And so it's not about, hey, what's the newest and the greatest thing out there? It's am I going to get consistent in whatever that thing is inside of my life? And so really, if we want a fresh start, if we want this year to look different than last year, if we want this new beginning per se in 2021, consistency is the key. And if we can develop that rhythm, I'm telling you, it'll change the course of our year.
Mm-hmm. So good. I think that is the key to everything. I talk about a lot of times we want to make big changes in the new year, right? We want to make these big things, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to do that. But I think sometimes we take on these goals that are like huge, right? Like we haven't ever been to the gym, but we're going to automatically go 7 days a week and we're going to work out for an hour. You know what I mean? And so I think sometimes it's creating these habits or these consistent things that like I can do this, this many times and trying to create that. I think there's such a power in that.
It's developing the disciplines that will get us to the destination we want to get to. And the consistency is the part of it. So, I mean, if you started the year and you went to the gym 7 days a week and then that's the only 7 days you went the whole year, you may lose a couple pounds in that first week, but by the end of the year, what you're going to go? You're going to go, I'm either back at the same weight, because I've done this like a million times, like, I want to work out, I'm going to do this, and like I get really good at it, I lose a little bit, and then I turn the year and I'm like, how did I get right back to where I was at? And the reason why? There's no consistency to it. Like, it would have been better for me to go 1 day a week for 52 weeks. Yes. And I would have seen more results. Maybe not all the results I wanted to see, but I would have seen more results by the consistency than I would have by just starting. And then when it doesn't work, we're like, I don't want to do that anymore.
Awesome. You also said in there that faithfulness produces fruitfulness. And so if we just keep doing the same, faithfulness produces fruitfulness if we just keep doing the same. I love this idea that if we would be faithful in the things that God has given us, that we'll see fruitfulness out of that. So, but why do you think this is so hard for us? Because I think sometimes this can be a easy concept to say, harder concept to live. You know what I mean? To be faithful in what God has given us, right? Yeah.
So, I mean, I think the tension that we face inside of this is we are a results-oriented culture. And we're a what have you done for me lately type moment. And so I think we get into these seasons and it's just like, okay, what's new? And I just want to jump to that seems awesome right now. And so we kind of bail on these areas in our life, and it's that faithfulness that's going to produce fruitfulness if we just keep doing the same over and over and over again. And because we're so result oriented, because we're so what have you done for me lately, we miss out on the byproduct of what could happen inside of our lives if we're just faithful in those moments, and it's, I mean, the whole analogy of, the bumper that we're using for this series, is somebody planting some seeds. Those seeds don't grow overnight.
Yeah.
If you want to see the fruit of those seeds, you have to remain faithful to it. And we bail.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember as a kid, I don't know if you ever did this, in school where they gave you the little cups, or if your kids brought it home and you plant the seeds or whatever. Like, it's frustrating, and like you're looking at it every day and you're like, I don't see anything. I don't see anything. I don't see anything. And that's what we do inside of our life in so many areas. And I think it's especially what we do inside of our lives in our relationship with God. Like, we get frustrated and we're like, this doesn't seem to be doing anything. What's new I can get to? Instead of being consistent, we're like, what's new? And news great because we can talk about it, right? Like, when we get something new, we tell everybody about it. And so if we have a new, plan, a new structure, we're sharing that with everybody. Well, when you're just faithful in it, like you've already shared what's new, and when you don't see the results, you're like, I ain't got nothing to talk to anybody about, like I don't get to go and like celebrate this right now. But if you're faithful in it, eventually you're going to produce that inside of your life. And when it comes to our relationship with Jesus Christ, it's this faithfulness that's going to produce the fruit that we want to see in our life. But we got to remain the same.
Yeah.
Stop bailing. Stop going, I'm going to jump from this to this to this to this. And then at the end of the year, you're like, I did a lot of things.
Yeah.
But I don't know what it produced.
Yeah.
And so we got to see what it produces inside of our life.
You know, something that comes up to in my mind when I think about this concept is like, I've been in ministry for 14 years. And there was very much, and you probably saw this too, there's very much this like trend of ministers being in a place for like 18 months to 2 years, right? That was the mentality. And I got caught in that. And it was almost like, what's new, what's next, what's the next thing, right? And I've shared this from the pulpit before. Like we've saw, my wife and I have seen the greatest blessings in our ministry being here at Victory Hill from the consistency. Like we've been here for 6 years, going on 7 years, and it's been this just consistency of like, this is where God's called you. Get planted, be consistent, be faithful in it. And there's going to be seasons that are like, this doesn't look like what I want it to look like, but being faithful and consistent in it, and you'll see those changes. And I just think that's so important in our faith is don't get enamored by all these things that are happening on the outside of you where you're like, oh, that looks new, or that looks cool, or that looks, stay consistent.
And when you do that, you build something sustainable inside of your life. So you build a sustainable relationship with Jesus Christ. You build a sustainable marriage. You build a sustainable family. You build a sustainable financial structure because you've remained faithful in it, and it produces fruit. And the longer you're at it, the consistency that you have, you can then weather difficult seasons. You can weather difficult moments inside of life, and I think it's maybe another good analogy is we're using like a tree and like the fruit and like it grows and it plants or whatever, early on, if a storm comes through, it may uproot that tree. But the longer that it's sustainable, the greater likelihood it's going to withstand the storm.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true for our life. When you're faithful, it produces fruitfulness. And then even when you find yourself in some of those difficult seasons, you're able to sustain them when you've been consistent and you've remained planted. And in ministry, the greatest rewards, they're frustrating days because some days you're like, man, it'd be just so easy. And that's why people do it. It's easier to leave somewhere, start something new, build the excitement, and then leave again and go, well, man, we did some great things.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the fruit.
Yeah,
I'm not sure the longevity of the fruit. To go, wow, that really made a difference for eternity.
So good. You ended the day. You talked about patterns, and you said that your potential is connected to your patterns. And so, can you explain this statement just a little bit? That our potential is connected to our patterns.
Yeah. So the patterns you develop will determine your future. And so if you were to sit down with me and say, hey, where's my future leading me? I would probably look at you and say, show me your patterns. If you show me your patterns, I can show you your future, And so how are we developing patterns in our lives that's going to get us to those goals, And so this is that fruitfulness. This is like, what patterns are we doing on a regular basis that's going to eventually get us there, And so what patterns have you developed if your goal this year is to go, man, I want to do better financially, What's your patterns? What are the things that you have placed inside of your life? One, how do you see your money? Is it yours or is it God's? Like, I really believe in this principle, and this isn't like, hey, the church needs your money. Like, this is me saying this is something good for your life, and I've seen the benefits. I've seen the blessings. When I sit down and look at our family's financial structure and the way that we honor God and want to live a life of generosity in everything that we do, like I sit back amazed sometimes to look at God's faithfulness inside of it. And so, show me your patterns. What are you doing to get to those places? And I can tell you where your financial future is going to end up, are you honoring God with those things? Are you sitting down and creating budgets? Are you saving? Are you tithing? What are you putting away? How do you see resources inside of your life? That's a pattern that you develop, show me your patterns. I'll show you your future. What's the patterns what's your work ethic? Show me an 18-year-old who shows up for work on time, who's respectful, who is learning and trying. I'll show you somebody that probably in several years from now is going to be a good employee somewhere, probably climbing a ladder somewhere and getting promotions because they've been faithful in the small things. And the Bible tells us, faithful in the small things, I'll elevate you to greater things. Show me the pattern that you've created for your life, and I can show you that. Show me your personal time with God. Consistent time in the Word, reading the Bible, and not perfection. But like, is there a pattern? Is it regular attendance at church, showing up at things, serving, giving? Show me those patterns inside of your life. And I'll show you somebody who's growing in their relationship with Jesus Christ. You can then say, I don't know how it all goes at different speeds, you know, but I'll show you someone who's on an upward incline instead of in a downward place. You know, it doesn't mean there won't be some hardships, but show me your patterns. I'll show you your future. You know, show me somebody who honors and cherishes their spouse, who, you know, wants the best for them, who leverages their life for the benefit of them. I'll show you somebody that is going to have a healthy marriage in the future, you know? And so our patterns are going to determine our future. So our potential that we have for tomorrow is being formed in our todays, and the patterns are going to get us to where we want to get in the ultimate place inside of that, you know. And so I think whether you're a teenager, whether you're an adult, when you look over the patterns of your life and you're frustrated, this is what I would tell people: if you're frustrated in an area of your life and you're like, I'm just so frustrated in this area, sit back down and write out your patterns. And what's getting you out of that cycle inside of your life. And if you're just doing the same things over and over again, you're going to be stuck in that pattern. You know?
So true. And I think I remember growing up, and this was always something that people would tell me: you have so much potential, right?
Yeah.
And so like you hear this a lot, and I think we've all heard this. And I think understanding that your patterns help produce that potential, and like you get to see how that's going to play out. I think that is, you know, doing youth ministry and talking to young adults that we do, like creating patterns when you're young. It's so much easier than creating patterns the older you get. It's not impossible as you get older. It just becomes harder because you build in other patterns naturally that you have to change, right? And so, you know, whoever's watching or listening, like, I think that's such a key, is like, stop what you're doing, take some minute, you know, to evaluate and go, what are the patterns in my life? Because there's financial patterns. You can look, like, you just go pull up your bank account, right? You can see your financial patterns. You know, there's relational patterns, how you treat people, how you've been treated. I think that's such a big thing, is just evaluate it, right? And it doesn't take long. And you'll see it quickly. You'll start to see it.
And here's the, you know, I would say this to those who are raising kids, whether they're teenagers or young kids or whatever. Your kids see your patterns. And the patterns you help develop into your kids now are going to help kind of determine their future. Now, it doesn't mean that if you didn't have good patterns modeled for you that you can't break out of that, but it will shape you. You know, and I look back over my life, like some of like the financial patterns I have, they were instilled into me by my family structure, you know, as part of that. And I continued those patterns. And so from a young age, you know, got into those things like work ethic and those things, they were instilled at a young age. And so if you want to help set your kids up,
so good.
You know, like when I look at my parents, I mean, like things that I'm grateful for are the patterns that they showed me. They showed me a pattern of what it looked like to go to church. Yeah. And I remember, I mean, Chris, I mean, we talk about this. Like when I was like, it wasn't optional. And I mean, and even when I was like in youth group, like, I mean, I'm doing ministry, early parts of youth, like I didn't want to go to, like, I remember like being so mad at my parents for making, like, like I just didn't have any friends there. I was like, I don't, it's not fun. I don't like it. And you know what they made me do?
Go anyway.
They made me go anyways. And they were like, this is a pattern we're going to have. And I don't necessarily care. Like, we're going to develop this, you know, you don't have a reason not to, you know, we're going to have a pattern. And those patterns now I'm living out, and I want to pass patterns on to my kids, you know? And so even here, you know, we're kind of in the phase now as a family trying to figure out, what does an allowance look like? And it's an allowance, not, maybe you're anti-allowance. Let me tell you my philosophy of why I want to do it. I want to be able to reward him for the work that he's doing. So show up and work hard. You're going to get, and I'm not giving, I'm probably a cheap allowance person, but I also want him to get his own money so that I can start teaching him how to live, give, and save. And say, this is what you get to live on. This is what you're going to give away. And here's what we're going to save for your future. So a pattern.
Create a pattern.
Yes.
So good. So good. So we talk about this. This is kind of the heart of this series. Is every week you put together a sermon. You put together, and I know putting together messages on my own that sometimes there's things that you just kind of don't make it in, or they were in the initial notes. So is there anything from this past week that you go, hey, this was a concept and you just didn't quite get in there that you'd like to share with us?
So I think just one thought, and it was one thought that I don't know. I didn't pause on it very long. So like sometimes you kind of like you go, hey, where are we at in this and stuff like that. And I don't know if people caught this. And so this is what I just want to say to you, that your breakthrough in 2021 is in the power of the same. And so when we talk about these consistencies, like I do believe there's some breakthroughs that God has in store for maybe people that are listening today, people that are showing up here at church, things that have never happened in their life, things that they've been frustrated. Your breakthrough is available to you, but it's in the power of the same. And I think in church, maybe we see somebody get that breakthrough and we're like, man, God just showed up and gave that breakthrough right here in this moment. Man, that wasn't that awesome. And there's a truth to that. But on every breakthrough that people have, people don't see the work that they did on the front side. They go, I'm going to get the help. I'm going to develop this discipline. They don't see the prayers those individuals prayed. They don't see the moments. They don't see the time they invested in. They don't see the patterns they developed. Your breakthrough is possible in 2021. And I'm praying that we would see some incredible breakthroughs in people's lives, relationally, financially, in their marriages, in their homes, in their families, in their relationship with Jesus Christ. But your breakthrough is in the power of the same. And so it's possible. I want to encourage you in that today. But you got to get consistent.
So good. I think it is too. And it's understanding that every pattern, it's hard. Patterns aren't, you know, we don't sit here and make it out like patterns are easy to put in. There's going to be struggles. There's going to be things that you face. And you talk about breakthrough. Like I always say that, you a lot of times we just see the end result. We don't see the story that came before all that, and understanding what people are going through and the struggles that they're facing to get to that point. It's a pattern that has to be in there. So how do you get through that? And then finally, last thing today, if there was one thing from Sunday that you could say, hey, I want you, if you don't take anything else away, you take this away, what would it be?
Just all in this year. I mean, if there's one thing that you're going to say, just, I'm going all in. God's given you everything you need to live a godly life when it comes to your relationship with Jesus Christ. Specifically, like maybe there's some other areas you need to go all in, but when it comes to your relationship with Jesus Christ, when it comes to spiritual disciplines, let me just challenge you, go all in this year. We talked a little bit about it this morning in a staff meeting. What's been on my heart, I mentioned it a little bit in Sunday. I can't actually remember. I may have only mentioned it in one service, but in 2020, we got out of rhythms.
Yes.
If there's anything the pandemic did, it did cause us to get out of rhythms. Like our patterns got broken. And I see so many people struggling to pick back up the patterns. I mean, we were talking about this in staff and our church culture, even personally. I mean, you know, we're humans inside of this, you know, even in our relationships with God, you know, like our schedules quickly changed and our patterns you know, eroded a little bit, and it's sometimes hard to get back into those things. And so I just want to encourage you, go all in, pick up some patterns, pick up some spiritual disciplines inside of your life, and let this be a fresh start, but let it be a fresh start that, man, produces something absolutely amazing inside of your life.
Awesome. So good. I'm excited for the rest of the series. Like I said, we encourage you to go watch it, share it out, let people know about it, be here as a part of the service. But thank you once again for tuning in. Thank you, Pastor Aaron, for sharing with us today. We want to encourage you to continue to like, share, comment, let us know what you'd like to hear on this podcast as well. And we look forward to seeing you and being with you next week right here for Between the Lines.